Welcome to everyone. My name is Dr. Angela Cersei, and I am the author of Push Past It, a positive approach to challenging classroom behaviors. But I'm also a teacher, so I've taught at all age levels, so infants, toddlers, twos, and also preschool. I've taught sixth grade, eighth grade, and ninth grade. And so I've taught the bigs to the littles and currently teach graduate students at Erickson Institute. And I'm so happy to be with you all today to talk about the holidays. And what we're going to talk about is, how to make the holiday time and sharing that with young children and their families. We're going to make it easy. That's number one. We're going to make it culturally inclusive. So that's another one. And then we're also going to make it economically inclusive for families and for children. So let's get started. And, definitely we're live. So of course, if you have questions, put them in the chat box and I'll be able to answer them either during our live or even after our live time together. So I'm sure many of us have memories of, Thanksgiving potluck at school, or even that Halloween parade, or practicing that Christmas pageant, or even dyeing eggs at your school when you were a child. And so now, just like I update my hairstyles and my wardrobe, I also update my practice. So now let's talk about our updates and thinking about the holidays. And let's do that inventory and think about how we can, think about our practices in new ways. So one thing we want to think about, let's start with, it's almost October. So let's start with Halloween. And so Halloween can be problematic for some families just because of associations with ghosts or witches, or even some families and children because of the gorging on sugar, and it could violate their, healthy practices for, for healthy eating or a lifestyle, or even budgets. So sometimes if you have many children, it's hard to get that, or you have a tight budget, it's hard to get that perfect costume for a child. And Halloween has been commercialized. So how do we support families and children's, even if their values don't align or their budgets don't align with some of our celebrations? So a couple of things to think about, or I guess, rules to go by, is that school is a place that we learn about holidays, and home is the place we celebrate our holidays. Okay, don't get worried. This is still, some of you are like, wait, I'm used to all these great traditions. And let me tell you, you can still share your traditions. So first thing is that children, what is the meaning behind Halloween, or what? Kids get to dress up and have fun. Well, a couple of things. Kids get to dress up, usually in early childhood programs, daily. They dress up within. So go ahead and keep talking about dressing up within your, it's not necessarily according to a theme of Halloween, but you can have many ways to dress up. So children have a variety of options, no matter what their values for their family. So keep dressing up. That's the first thing. You can still do a parade. It just won't necessarily be a Halloween parade. Honey, I'm just going to say do a parade every other day. Like, I think that dressing up and having a parade, so every week is wonderful. So a couple of things I want to share with you. You can dress up and have a parade any day with young children, right? I just told you where you could do more of it if you really like it. And then the other piece I want to share with you is now we have children that are just using what's already in your program to dress up. So they can make their own items and be creative to dress up. And if children want to talk about Halloween and make a funny mask or a jack-o'-lantern, they can. So children are in charge. That's the difference. That's the update. Children are in charge. So now you're going to have child-made masks or a child-made jack-o'-lanterns that children do without teacher input. Teachers can, of course, talk to children about what they're making, give labels and vocabulary. Yes, you can still do all of those things. But the difference will be, me as a teacher in maybe 1992, I would have had a craft or something that I put together and made for the children that they had to follow or replicate. guess what? I'm gonna give you more time. When have you gone to some kind like a Facebook Live and you've gotten more time? Here's the, oh my gosh, I'm giving educators more time. I'm gonna move your time around. Instead of you cutting out something or making a model that children have to follow, now you'll just place materials out on the table. You can't place things that come up during the Halloween time. So you can still place out spider webs or string or different colors of paper, because of course, all holidays you can do any color, right? They're not associated with just one or two colors. Don't limit the children. Just let them go in. And of course, children will talk about upcoming holidays, and you'll have discussions with them, and you might even see pictures, or they'll tell their friends about their holiday. Look, it is a place to learn about holidays, and you can talk about holidays that you celebrate. But now it is child initiated, not a teacher initiated. And so now children are in charge. And so therefore children can dress up how they want. They can't, right? It's not associated just with one day. It happens many days whenever children want to do it. Who's had the child who wants to dress up and they're talking about Halloween and it's November or it's January? And if they want to do it, they can or not. So it's really inclusive of all different families, children. Even if everyone in your program celebrates the same holiday, they may do it all differently and to different levels. So we're honoring all the different diversity that could be in your program, even if we're all the same. So keep in mind, right, that we still can put leaves out and pumpkins and harvest and talk about holidays, but now children are in charge. And the focus is on the meeting, which is dressing up or having fun. Okay. So now let's think about other times like Thanksgiving. Okay, that's another one that's Halloween, and then Thanksgiving is right after. So I talked about focusing on the meaning, which is being thankful. And so now we want to be cautious because I'm still saying Halloween. Let's update. Thanksgiving has had some potential challenges with disrespectful or stereotypical images. And we want to make sure that we're not doing that. This is one book that I'm just loving, and it's called I'm Not a Costume. And so I'm Not a Costume. We're going to share this link. Oh my goodness, this book is a keeper. And so what this book talks about is such a good bridge between, that Halloween time and then going into that harvest and Thanksgiving time where those ideas come up, because this book is about a child. And this child, this is the little girl, and she and her family are indigenous. And they moved from North Dakota to a big city of Chicago. Another reason I love this book, where it talks about an indigenous family, but indigenous families could be urban families or families that live in rural areas and everything in between. So I love this. Then it talks about, the costume. It does talk about costumes and it, right? It's a story. We read stories about all different types of celebrations and ideas, and children make their own books about their own celebrations. And this one, the children dress up, right, as they're both dressed up as a doctor in their costume, which is costumes that we have within our dramatic play areas at times. And then the children see other children dressed up in Native American, princess, but it looked different to the child. She's like, well, I understand, Native American dress, but this isn't it. So what am I seeing? So what is it? It talks about how that could be confusing to a child or other children about what is the dress? Why does it look different? Why do they think indigenous dress is a costume? Oh, it's just a wonderful book to talk about children from the viewpoint of a preschooler. And then her family and how they felt about that. And they end up solving this kind of dilemma by just coming in and showing, their dress to the other children, and it's right here, and it kind of ends with them kind of learning and teaching the other children and families in the story, about their dress and how it's important and the meaning behind it. So I just want to say that this is it. These are the kind of authentic stories that we want to hear, from families and children. So if you want to, of course, celebrate, a different culture, talk to that culture. What a beautiful idea is if you actually connected your preschoolers with preschoolers who are Indigenous, and be pen pals and draw pictures with each other. And honey, do it all year long, not just for one day. One day is not enough time to talk and learn about a culture. And so now this book is a great starting point, but make connections we're on Facebook. So it's easier now for us to make connections with one another, to email a school, to contact a different culture and say, hey, do you guys want to be pen pals? Do we want to share pictures? Do we want to share ideas with one another? And it could be, if you're worried about, confidentiality, it could just be sharing drawings, with other children. Pen pals is a great way to learn about other cultures and learn it all year long, not just one day. So yeah, of course you can have, of course you already have feathers in the art area. You already have pumpkins, and you already have flowers, and you already have things within the environment that you're going to bring in, leaves, right? And harvest. You may talk about that depending on your program. In Hawaii, that program may not change right? Well, Hawaii definitely does not change seasons. So they may or may not talk about leaves falling, or they may. Really, it's all about the children. The children are in charge. So the children, if the child brings up, well, wait, do leaves fall, or do they, or don't they? What a good wondering. What a good question. And then go into the topic as much as children want to learn about the topic. And if they're more interested in the trees that are in their environment, talk about the trees in their environment. Observe children, go with their interests, and listen to their conversations. So one isn't enough. Right, we talked about that, right? We're talking about keeping it inclusive, keeping it authentic, and keeping it meaningful all year long. It is Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month is not something you do that month. Hispanic Heritage Month is when you celebrate everything you've done all year long, and you show and celebrate everything that you did, right? 365 days out of a year. We're celebrating all the cultures, honey, all the time. And so what that means is that we're really just emphasizing on that month, maybe in a bulletin board with authentic drawings that children have done, or maybe a food that they've tried all year in that bulletin board. So another way that I'm going to save you time, your bulletin board is going to be pictures, and it's going to be the children's work, not your work. Bulletin boards, here, let me say it again, should be children's work, not adult work, because we already know that you know how to cut. It's their opportunity to learn. And while they're cutting and pasting however way they wish, you're observing and learning from them. And so, yes, some of you are like, what? I love making, come on, raise your hands. Angela, wait, I love making bulletin boards. And you can do crafts, but not, right? That is not the emphasis. The emphasis is on the children. And if you want to take a crafting class, then that's really something that you can add to your schedule. But remember, our emphasis is on the children and giving them their time to shine. Another great activity that I've used for Thanksgiving, I've read the book Stone Soup. Stone Soup, is a great book, right? How many have read the book Stone Soup? You know the story about how each person in the story gives a little bit to the soup, and then they all share the soup together. Oh, what a wonderful. So what is the meaning behind Thanksgiving? The meaning is being thankful, right? That is the focus. You could have a thankful jar, and that thankful jar is remember my wording, all year long. You could talk about who in the program are you thankful for, what people in your life you're thankful for. So what I want to remind you is that you can still be thankful. Just think about how you're being thankful in an inclusive and culturally responsive way, and also economically responsive. That it can be a struggle for families to get food for a potluck or get something together to share. So what we're going to do is we're going to support them if they wish to celebrate that holiday at home. We're going to support that home celebration. So thank you card station. That is something else that I would have in a classroom, a preschool classroom. I would have like thank you cards in that station where they could just talk about being thankful. And of course, children will talk about their celebrations. They'll talk about family and family coming to visit. That is the heart of, right, of that time of year. So you want to talk about all of those things. Instead of a Christmas pageant, you have to remember that Christmas pageant it can be challenging for some children with special needs, if they have to stand in a particular space, and then they have to, some children are could be, slow to, kind of withdrawn, or slow to be out in the front, in front of everyone. And that could be a really challenging and difficult time for them. And so now, instead of a pageant, we could have something that's more about what the children want to do. If the children do want to do a song for their family, then let them do it. And those who want to sit and watch those children, let them. And then you want to talk to families, because this will be a different thing. Like, oh, my child didn't get up and sing. How should I feel about that? And you should feel fine, because you know what? Maybe they're going to be a producer someday. I have a friend of mine that I've known for many years. And I mean, literally, she's a producer, and she's the producer now. She's always been kind of behind the scenes and putting things together. They're still part of the show, but they're not the actor. They're the producer of the pageant. And the producer is the one that says, oh, do it like this, stand here. And let's go back again. Children take the lead. So the children are writers of the program. They're directors of the song. They're leading the other children. So that is an inclusive way that children are taking the lead. And guess what? You get more time because you get to step back. And the only thing that you do is say, hey, do you want to be the producer? Do you want to be the writer? Do you want to be in the audience? What's your part? And everyone has a different part. Do you want to be an usher? Do you want to write? What do you want to do? And whatever children wish to do, they have a space and they have, right, a place within this inclusive setting. So I want to expand your view to all the different ways children can engage within that, updating that traditional Christmas pageant. Thinking about, focusing also as we get to the winter holidays on light. The lights is such a, right, it's getting darker. So many holidays for many different celebrations are all about light, Christmas lights and light, right, and lights all over. So we talk about Hanukkah and lighting the candle. So lights is a great way to be inclusive of many different celebrations. And in addition to, it just gets darker around that time, and that we naturally have more light. So having festivals of lights or thoughts about lights. Also thoughts of peace, thoughts of giving. So maybe having something where children are giving to one another and thinking about how we carry that throughout the entire year and pull that forward. And so, of course, now just as I talk about this, children will talk and say, Santa's coming to my house tomorrow. And children can say that. We're not stopping those great conversations and that great learning. But what thing that we're not doing is we're not going to initiate that discussion. We're going to continue like, wow, Santa's coming. Tell me more about that. Your friend doesn't know what that means. And so now we're enhancing and facilitating that great learning that we want to take, right, to occur with young children. So children are creating their art. You may be adding things depending on your climate. So that is also inclusive, that some climates get cold and some climates stay warm, and that's okay. And talking about what all those meanings are for everyone at that. Some people are at the beach at Christmas time. And that is a good place to be. Or some children are sledding and talking about all those different times or not, depending on what children's interests are. So we're talking about, let's talk about some more holidays here. So instead of you cutting out eggs, for the spring, for that Easter time, you'll be listening to the children saying, you know what, let's make a book about your holiday. Let's make a book about what you learned, because spring, it's not here yet, but it'll be here soon enough. It's all about renewal. It's all about, the little babies, the little bunnies giving birth, talking about renewal and flowers coming up and the days getting longer. All of that is springtime. And so now we're going to take that time and just emphasize with children. Maybe they'll act out something that they did to celebrate during that springtime, or they'll share pictures from their family and you'll do a PowerPoint with all those shared experiences. And some children may do something very special where they dress up, and some children may sit on the couch and relax. And some children will, make a big dinner, and some children will order some takeout food. And we'll talk about all those things in a PowerPoint about what you did on your special day, or if it was special to you in your own way. So let's keep thinking, put in the chat box your thoughts. And I'll kind of talk about some more holidays and more questions that have come up. In addition to my sharing my ideas, I also have some great articles. So there's some great articles from Macy that I want to share with you. The Arizona AUIC has a great article about sharing holidays and being neutral. Whatever your wording is, because you could talk about learning about holidays and celebrating at home, or sharing your home holiday is another wording. You have to agree on this with your family and your site. So if you want to use the word neutral, then share that and talk about a shared understanding of that with the families that work in your program. Or if you want to talk about learning about holidays that you celebrate at home and talking about that is a key piece that you want to talk about in an inclusive way with all the families in your program. Now, some questions I've got, what if the teachers are resistant to this idea? And you know what? I don't think educators are resistant, right? Hey guys, you guys are listening to here. I don't think educators are resistant to change. I just think that sometimes that emotion comes up. We all have those memories. And so when we hear something different, we're like, well, how does that fit with, what we did before? And I think that's a good question. That I think that resistance is just a sign that maybe it hasn't been explained enough or talked about enough. And yes, of course, when I first heard these ideas about not doing a craft that I'd done for many years, I kind of felt a sense of what do I do now? Or a sense of fear. How will children learn? Or a sense of loss of I like celebrating and doing it this way. And I think those are all important things to talk about. Resistance is a sign. It's communication. And what we want to do when someone communicates to us is hold them close, embrace them, listen, talk, and work things out together. So, and I would also say this, and sometimes even now in the holidays where I don't really do crafts like I used to, Craftina perks up. Remember, my name's Angela, and Craftina, I call her Craftina. She perks up and she says, Angela, do a craft with the children. Right? I'll see pictures of crafts that I've done with children in the past, and I'll say, Craftina, she's the same one that tells me to wear what my kids say out of style clothes. You're like, Mom, that's so 90s. Why don't you update yourself? Right? Right. That's 90s, right? My 90s fashion sense pops up occasionally. I have other things that pop up occasionally from the past. Who else? Come on, everybody, raise your hand. If you have ideas from the past that pop up within you, and I want a normal, that's okay, right? Right? Just like we celebrate things from the past, doesn't mean that we always still do them. We may laugh about them. we may talk about, remember how we used to do this? We used to wear our hair like that. And we laugh and we talk about it. And that's okay. Change takes time. So, like I said, I've had time to process this idea. My practice as an educator has grown and changed along with my hairstyles right here and my wardrobe as well. And so those things have changed over time. And that's okay to let that, right, to go through that process, that understanding that changes is something that happens right away and it's a process. And slowly, as someone gets more ideas and more experience with this way of updating their process, just like they update their phone or they update their hairstyle or they update their clothes, that, right, it's a gradual process, and to honor that as well. Change is inevitable. Growth, well, growth takes time, right? And we should honor that. So there's a few more holidays I want you all to think about. We talked about spring and growth and renewal, but there's a few others like Mother's Day and Father's Day. Well, that honors one type of family. So a family could have a grandparent that's raising, right, the children, or an aunt or an uncle. So we call it People's Day. Who's your people? Right? That is inclusive of all types of families, whether it's a foster child, whether it's who's the people that you love. So we just call it, we're going to celebrate your people today, whoever they are. And the people who love you can come and visit, and we're going to make cards for your people that love you. So that's just includes, it just makes us, we don't lose anything because we're still celebrating mothers. We're still celebrating fathers, but now we just added aunts and uncles and grandparents and right. And we've added more, right? Our foster parents, we've just added them to the day, right? So other day, another one could be birthdays. Yep. That's another one. So birthdays, children, yeah, we may talk about families. They can celebrate that day, but at school, we just learn about it. So people celebrate birthdays very different. From the range of people who don't celebrate their birthdays at all. It could be, like Jehovah's Witness, for example, certain religious organizations don't celebrate holidays or birthdays. They may celebrate certain holidays, so we're going to honor that. So we're going to talk about celebrating your birthday could mean not doing much of anything or doing something very extravagant and exciting, and you just coming and telling us about that. And, wondering before we kind of give a treat to everyone, and also depending on when the time of year that birthday lands, because some children are fasting during certain times of year, so they won't be able to eat that birthday cake, or they won't be able to eat certain types of, they can't eat unleavened bread, or they're fasting. So think about all the different ways that we have to be very inclusive and make decisions about, how to celebrate with someone's birthday and what that looks like. And always having a space. I love having a space within the writing area that you can have just a birthday space that children can give a card to a child if they wish. So they can make something, draw something, and give it to their friend if they wish. And I think that's a great thing to have in a station with the birth dates on it. So having the birth dates there, maybe the child's picture, and then a child asking, can I celebrate your birthday? Can I give you a card today? And then the children kind of learning from there to ask. And if a child says, hey, yeah, then they can do that. And you can support that process and facilitate that. So thoughts about, yeah, thoughts about this is just really thinking about how we just like we update our phones and we update our computers, thinking about how we also update our practice. I'm wondering if there's any questions that people have or any kind of wonderings that are coming through in the chat box or anything like that. So put them, I guess, in the comments. That's what I would say on the Facebook Live. Put your comments and your thoughts there if you have some questions. And I can kind of answer your questions after our time together. I'll kind of join in and kind of check in. So even if you're viewing this like, weeks later or months later, I'd love to get your feedback about how you are inclusive, how you put children in charge, right? And how you celebrate holidays throughout the year. There's some holidays that I didn't mention that you're wondering about. Go ahead and put that in the comments and I will check in with you. And of course, you could check in with me anytime. So again, my name is Angela Searcy. This is right. Definitely you can follow me on Facebook and connect with me. I love to get feedback. So you know what? We are friends going forward. This is just the beginning of our discussion. I love to come out to programs and to connect with all of you, whether it's Zoom or in person. So definitely connect with me. My Facebook is Angela Nelson Searcy. So I do have my maiden name in there. Or you can follow me on Twitter. It's Angela Searcy. Or LinkedIn, you'll find me under Angela Searcy. And Searcy is with an S, S-E-A-R-C-Y. So I hope that we just have begun this great discussion and I hope it continues. Have some great holidays and thank you everyone for joining.